Shannon Sharpe didn't hold back. On a recent episode, he went off on the Cleveland Browns coaching staff like they just insulted his entire football lineage. The target? Their decision to bench Shedeur Sanders and hand the starting quarterback role to rookie Dillon Gabriel. According to Sharpe, this wasn't just a strategic misstep. It was a full-blown disrespect to talent, pedigree, and preparation. And it's hard not to see where he's coming from.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Shedeur Sanders, son of NFL icon Deion Sanders, isn't just some random name on the depth chart. He's been scrutinized, dissected, and doubted at every step simply because of the legacy attached to him. And now, despite showing promise and keeping his head down, he's been shoved to QB3 while the Browns roll the dice on a rookie who barely has NFL grass stains on his jersey. Dillon Gabriel might have a hot hand right now, but Sharpe's message was clear. This move is short-sighted, and someone's going to regret it. Chad Ochocinco-Johnson tried to mediate, but even he seemed baffled by the logic. The conversation turned into a breakdown of how NFL franchises often make decisions based more on optics and comfort than actual potential. Gabriel fits the mold. He's media-neutral, coachable, non-controversial. Meanwhile, Shedeur walks into every room with a spotlight already trailing him, and that alone seems to disqualify him in some eyes. But make no mistake, this wasn't about talent. It was about perception, about politics, about control. The analysts didn't let the moment slip away without reminding everyone of the NFL's ugly tendency to prioritize short-term stability over long-term upside. The Browns are clearly playing it safe. But when the safe choice fumbles, and your bench star has been quietly grinding in the shadows, that's when the spotlight swings back with a vengeance. Sharpe knows that movie. He's lived it, which is why his rant didn't sound like hot take theater. It felt like a warning. This isn't just another young QB being told to wait his turn. It's a calculated shelving of a player who's already proven he can handle pressure better than most veterans. And while Dillon Gabriel might be riding the wave now, everyone knows NFL waves crash hard and fast. When that happens, Shedeur won't just be ready. He'll be waiting, focused, controlled, quietly collecting receipts. But the clock is ticking, and in a league that's built on what have you done lately, patience is as risky as a blindside blitz. Shedeur's story isn't finished. It's still warming up. But Shannon Sharpe just made sure the league knows. There will be a reckoning when the Browns' golden boy slips, and the kid they try to bury takes the field with something to prove. So, Shannon Sharpe has officially had it. And he didn't hold back. On a recent episode, Sharpe unleashed a pointed, passionate takedown aimed squarely at the Cleveland Browns coaching staff for what many are calling a baffling decision, benching Shedeur Sanders in favor of rookie quarterback Dillon Gabriel. Yep, you heard that right. Shedeur Sanders, football royalty by name and rising talent by game, is currently third on the Browns' quarterback depth chart, and Shannon Sharpe is not buying the excuses. Sitting across from Chad Ochocinco-Johnson, the two dove into a conversation that sounded less like a sports analysis and more like a controlled roast session, with a side of disappointed dad energy. Sharpe couldn't understand it, and honestly, neither could a lot of fans. Why would you sideline a player like Shedeur, who's shown poise, precision, and flashes of elite football IQ, just to fast-track a rookie like Dillon Gabriel into the starting lineup? According to Sharpe, it's a decision that reeks of short-sightedness and mismanagement, and he said it with his whole chest. Now, let's be clear, this isn't about Dillon Gabriel being bad. It's about what this decision signals, and what it doesn't. Sharpe and Ochocinco both made it clear that Shedeur's situation is way bigger than just a depth chart. It's about perception. It's about politics. And yes, it's about the pressure of having Sanders stitched across your back. Being Deion Sanders' son is no small thing. Expectations? Through the roof. Scrutiny? Constant. And every move Shedeur makes, on or off the field, is analyzed like it's being live-streamed from a courtroom. Even his silence makes headlines. And for what it's worth, Sharpe actually respects that. The way Shedeur has handled the media? Composed. Intentional. No drama. No firestorms, no unnecessary tweets or interviews to walk back. Just work. And that's exactly what Sharpe and Johnson say makes this benching even harder to swallow. Because while Shedeur keeps his head down and does the work, the Browns coaching staff is busy running what feels like a PR stunt. Choosing a new, shiny, and proven starter over a player who's earned a right to at least compete for the spot. And here's where it really gets interesting. This isn't just about the Browns. Sharpe and Johnson use the situation to expose a pattern that runs deep in the NFL. Organizations choosing familiar or easier options over raw, developing talent. Coaches and execs looking for short-term security over long-term growth. Sharpe likens it to what we've seen before. Think Russell Wilson's early career, or even someone like Jackson Dart. Teams are constantly chasing temporary fixes instead of grooming future stars. And in that cycle, players like Shedeur get left behind, despite the skill, despite the composure, despite the name recognition. But here's where Sharpe makes his sharpest point, pun intended. He says this isn't a talent issue. It's not even a readiness issue. It's about fit. Teams, especially ones like the Browns, are playing it safe. They'd rather go with someone who fits neatly into the system than someone who might need a different kind of development. And while Gabriel may check those boxes right now, Shedeur has a ceiling that's way higher, if he's given a chance to grow into it. And then there's the media layer. Oh boy. Sharpe points out how differently players are treated based on how they engage with the public. Jameis Winston can crack jokes, go viral, and still get a pass when things go sideways. But Shedeur? He's walking a tightrope. Because of his name, every word is scrutinized. Every facial expression becomes a meme. So he stays quiet, strategic. Sharpe applauds that, but also says it's part of why Shedeur might not be as marketable in the eyes of NFL execs. Quiet doesn't sell tickets. Flash does, which leads us right into the heart of the issue, the business of football. This isn't just about who can throw a spiral. It's about image, about ticket sales, about narrative. And Sharpe flat out says that a lot of these coaching decisions come down to business optics, not performance. Coaches want someone they can control, someone who won't challenge the system or draw too much attention. And let's be honest, Shedeur, by virtue of his last name alone, brings attention whether he wants it or not. But here's where Sharpe and Johnson come together in agreement. This isn't the end for Shedeur Sanders. Not even close. They say his path just looks different. And if he can stay patient, stay mentally sharp, and keep preparing like every snap is his moment, that opportunity will come. Because talent? That's not the question here. Readiness? He's got it. What's needed now is resilience. And Sharpe makes one last jab before wrapping. If Shedeur's last name wasn't Sanders, would he be treated differently? Would the expectations be more manageable? Would the media let up just a little? Hard to say. But one thing's for sure, his family legacy is both a blessing and a burden. And that burden is something the Browns organization clearly hasn't figured out how to handle. So where does that leave us? With a quarterback who's benched not because of performance, not because of immaturity, but because of a mix of organizational indecision, business considerations, and the weird, toxic cocktail of fame and football. And Sharpe is not okay with that. He wants accountability. He wants logic. And more than anything, he wants young players like Shedeur Sanders to be judged on their preparation, not their PR value. Because the truth is, in the NFL, you don't always get the spotlight when you're ready. You get it when someone else fumbles it. And when that moment comes, you better be locked in. No excuses. No hesitation. Just execution. Sharpe says Shedeur's got the tools. The demeanor. The strategy. Now it's just about waiting for the right moment. And absolutely crushing it when it finally comes. Until then, the Browns are playing a dangerous game. Because benching a player like Shedeur might look fine today. But if Gabriel slips and Shedeur shines later somewhere else, this whole decision could come back to haunt them. And when it does, let's just say, Shannon Sharpe will absolutely have receipts. So what do you think? Did the Browns make the right call? Is Shedeur being unfairly buried because of his last name, or is this just part of the process for young QBs? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that subscribe button if you're into this kind of chaotic sports drama, and stay locked in. We'll be watching when the next meltdown unfolds. When Shannon Sharpe goes off, It's never just noise. It's a warning shot. And in this case, that shot was aimed right at the Browns' front office. Because you don't sit a player like Shedeur Sanders without raising eyebrows, especially when your replacement is an untested rookie with barely any NFL reps under his belt. Now, let's talk about Dillon Gabriel for a second. Solid college career? Sure. Strong arm? Definitely. But NFL-ready starter? That's where the room gets real quiet. Because while the Browns are handing him the keys to the offense, you've got Shedeur, who's been built for this moment, warming the bench like he's some afterthought. It's wild. Sharpe's frustration isn't just rooted in favoritism or hype. It's rooted in what he knows about what it takes to survive in this league. He's been around too long, seen too many young QBs get swallowed whole by bad systems, bad coaching, or worse, bad timing. And that's what this feels like, a timing issue. Shedeur has the mental game locked down. This is a guy who doesn't flinch when cameras are on him 24/7, who sits silently while Twitter foams at the mouth every time his name trends, who knows how to navigate pressure because he was raised in it. And that's not even getting into the actual football. This isn't someone who just lucked into an NFL shot because of his dad. He's got stats, tape, leadership, and composure. And yet somehow, the Browns have managed to reduce him to QB3, behind a rookie, behind an organization's safe bet. It's less of a competition and more of a narrative. And the narrative is loud. Oh, he's Deion's son. He's probably cocky. Is he really that good or just well-connected? It's the same tired playbook people pull when they want to downplay someone's accomplishments without having to admit the bias. Sharpe and Johnson both call it out. This invisible standard that some players have to rise above just to be treated fairly. Meanwhile, other guys, louder, flashier, or just more palatable to the system, get handed opportunities they haven't earned yet. Akasinko, who knows a thing or two about personality being a double-edged sword, backed Shedeur's quiet approach. He pointed out how rare it is for someone that young, with that much attention, to not take the bait, to keep it cool, strategic. You think that doesn't take discipline? It takes more mental strength to stay quiet when the world's talking about you than it does to run your mouth. And Shedeur's been locked in, which makes the Browns' decision all the more baffling. Because when you look at the situation, it's not about who's more talented. It's about who's been positioned to succeed. Dillon Gabriel is being handed a first-class ticket, while Shedeur's stuck flying standby. That's not development. That's politics. And let's not pretend this is some unusual thing in the NFL. Sharpe called it out. This exact scenario plays out year after year. Talented young QBs get lost in the shuffle while teams chase veteran experience or someone who fits the system. And how often does that actually work? More often than not, it just delays the inevitable. Realize you had the right guy all along. You just didn't trust him. That's what this is really about. Trust. Sharpe said it plain. The Browns don't trust Shedeur yet. And instead of investing in his growth, they're going for comfort. They're playing scared. And scared coaching never wins in the NFL. There's also the business angle. Akasinko brought up a solid point. This league doesn't just run on touchdowns. It runs on narratives, marketability, and public perception. And while Shedeur might be bare on the field, Gabriel might be seen as easier to manage off the field. Less noise, less media attention, fewer questions at the press conference. But guess what? That media attention isn't going anywhere. If anything, this decision amplified it. Because now, every move Gabriel makes will be watched. Every interception, every bad read, every fumble, that's not just a mistake. It's a comparison. Would Shedeur have done that? Why isn't Shedeur playing? Is this the Browns being the Browns again? Sharpe made it crystal clear. The longer you keep Shedeur on that bench, the louder the noise gets. And not the kind of noise that sells jerseys. The kind that gets front offices fired. Meanwhile, what's Shedeur supposed to do? Stay silent. Stay ready. Stay prepared. And he will, because that's how he was raised. Deion didn't raise a kid who folds under pressure. He raised one who eats it for breakfast. But let's not pretend this is easy. Being benched when you know you're good enough to compete is brutal. Especially when every day is a reminder that someone else got the spot you trained for your entire life. And yet, Shedeur hasn't lashed out. No angry tweets. No cryptic posts. No side interviews. Just work. Sharpe respects that. Akasinko respects that. Anyone who knows the game respects that. But respect doesn't get you on the field. Opportunity does. And that's what this all boils down to. When will Shedeur get his real shot? Because you only need one. One injury. One bad game. One moment when the coach runs out of safe options and finally looks at the bench and says, "All right, kid, you're up." And when that happens, Shedeur has to be perfect. Not good. Not solid. Perfect. Because that's the reality for players like him. The spotlight will be brutal. The critics will be loaded. And if he stumbles even once, the narrative writes itself. Told you he wasn't ready. Just another legacy player who couldn't cut it. Put Gabriel back in. No one's giving him the grace period they give other rookies. There's no learning curve when your last name is Sanders. It's either dominate or disappear. And that's why Sharpe is so fired up. He knows the odds. He knows how rare it is for players to break through after being benched early. And he knows how unfair it is that Shedeur isn't even being given the chance to prove himself. Meanwhile, the Browns are playing the long game like they have time. Like they can afford to ignore talent because they've got everything under control. Which, if history tells us anything, is hilarious. This is the same franchise that cycled through more quarterbacks than most teams cycle through socks. You'd think they want a fresh start with someone who's smart, calm, and coachable. But instead, they're trying to engineer stability out of fear. And that never works. Sharpe's final word on the matter? This coaching decision could be the beginning of a massive regret. If Shedeur ends up somewhere else, thriving, winning, leading, you'll hear the echoes all the way back to Cleveland. Because here's the thing, talent doesn't wait forever. And neither do opportunities. You can only keep a quarterback like Shedeur Sanders benched for so long before the league catches on. Before another team comes knocking. Before fans start chanting his name every time Gabriel throws into double coverage. So Browns, good luck with that. And Shedeur, stay ready. Keep your head down. Work like you're already the starter, because eventually you will be. And when that day comes, do what you've been raised to do. Shut them all up. Because let's call this what it is. A fear-based decision. They're not starting Dillon Gabriel because he's the best option. They're starting him because he's the least risky one for them. He doesn't have the spotlight on him. He doesn't bring his father's legacy into every press conference. He doesn't challenge the hierarchy. He just fits. But when as fitting and ever won championships, Shedeur Sanders doesn't fit the mold. And that's exactly why he could break it. He's not some bland, coach-approved clone. He's poised. He's calculated. He knows how to navigate chaos because his entire life has been chaos. Raised by Deion Sanders? You think pressure is new to him? This kid grew up with microphones in his face and NFL Hall of Famers at the dinner table. That doesn't make him cocky. It makes him ready. And yet, he's being treated like a liability instead of a weapon. Shannon Sharpe picked up on that double standard instantly. Because this isn't just about who can throw a cleaner slant route. It's about how the NFL still struggles with players who break the prototype narrative. If you're outspoken, problem. If you're too quiet, problem. If you're confident and good-looking and come from a famous family, big problem. So the Browns play it safe. They pick the rookie with a blank slate and ignore the guy who's been prepping for this moment his entire life. Akasinko didn't even try to hide his frustration. He knows the drill. He's lived the drill. The moment you bring something extra, a brand, a personality, a following, you're suddenly too much. Unless you're winning. Then everyone wants in. But Shedeur hasn't been allowed to win. He hasn't even been allowed to compete. And that's what makes this so frustrating. He's not being judged on performance. He's being judged on projection. Someone in the room decided that Gabriel was more coachable, more NFL ready, and Shedeur never got to argue his case on the field. So now he waits. Third string. Practicing, grinding, preparing in silence while the world spins theories about his career arc. And for what? Because let's be honest, how long is this sustainable? Dillon Gabriel isn't walking into a pressure-free zone. He's walking into a locker room where every missed throw will be compared to someone who didn't get the shot. Every slow start will raise one name. Sanders. That's not a quarterback controversy. It's a countdown, because the moment Gabriel struggles, and he will, because that's what rookies do, the conversation changes. Fast. And guess who's going to be sitting there, pads on, eyes locked, knowing full well that he's ready? That's why Sharpe said what he said. Because the Browns might think they're being strategic. But they're actually just building a powder keg. A ticking clock of criticism, waiting to blow the second things go sideways. And when it does, everyone will ask the same question. Why didn't Shedeur get a real shot? It's coming, whether the Browns like it or not. Because in the NFL, the field doesn't lie. You can hide behind depth charts and locker room politics for a while, but eventually, talent rises. It always does. And when Shedeur finally steps on that field, he won't just be playing for snaps. He'll be playing for every young player who's ever been told, not yet. Every athlete who's ever been passed over because they didn't fit the narrative. He's going to make noise without saying a word. And when that moment comes, all the noise, all the silence, all the politics, it fades. Because the only thing that matters is performance. And Shedeur knows how to perform. So yeah, let the Browns pretend they've got this all figured out. Let them ride the Dillon Gabriel wave until it crashes. Let them ignore the fact that their most prepared quarterback is watching from the sidelines, waiting for a crack in the system. Because when that crack comes, and it will, Shedeur Sanders won't hesitate. He'll be ready. He is ready. So let's hear it. Do you think the Browns blew it? Should Shedeur be getting real reps right now? Or is this just how the league works? Drop your thoughts below. We're watching this unfold in real time. And trust, we'll be here when it blows up, because something tells me the story is just getting started. Don't forget to subscribe for more sports chaos, hot takes, and every meltdown the NFL tries to sweep under the rug. Because if there's one thing we know, the real drama is always off the field.